Okay, looks like we're live. Not too many people here today. Should I wait a little bit? Still a little bit. Hello again, Anna. You keep on getting the short straw. Don't know what you mean by that, because it is a short straw. Okay. So, looks like since there aren't too many people, it might be a little shorter today. Yes. Okay. So, hello everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. It's I don't know if you guys know, but it's quite hot here in California, so everything's a little bit sluggish. It's about 103 degrees Fahrenheit out there right now. It's pretty hot. Anyway, let me get started. So, for those of you who have not been here before, and to those of you who have already been here, sorry if this sounds repetitive, but I do have to repeat it for the benefit of the people who are here for the first time. So, very simple. First rule is please no trolling or spamming, and please limit, when you ask your question, please limit to posting it once. If you try to post the same question multiple times, it gets really irritating, not only for me, but also for the other people in attending a live stream, because this is a time for everyone to ask the questions that they need to ask. And so I kindly request that you give that courtesy to your fellow pilots. That's the first thing. Oh, also, if you troll or post inappropriate content, I will not hesitate to ban you from the channel. I have a very low ceiling of tolerance for that, by the way. Trolling is just doesn't read well in my book. So that's the first part. Second part is I won't be talking about any sort of firmware releases that have not already been released. Most of the time, I do know about what has already been released. I do know a good deal of it, but there's sometimes when I don't. So when I don't, I apologize for that. Sorry, I am human. So I will say, just advise you to email hubservice@hubsan.com when that happens. And when I say that, I really do mean it, because then it gives us a way of, number one, keeping track of your question. Number two, we will remember then to ask R&D the questions, and they will answer if they see that it is appropriate to do so. That's the second rule. Third rule is what else? Third rule. I think that's it. I've condensed it from 3 to 2. I think it's because I included the first 2 in the first comment. So yeah. Oh yeah, third question. If the question it takes too long to answer during the live stream, then again, we will request that you email us so that we can keep track of your case. Please don't, it's not meant to be a way of deferring your question. It's simply that there's too many factors involved and we have to ask for multiple pieces of information. So sometimes it's just not feasible to do in a half an hour. Hopefully you understand. If you don't, I guess you're entitled to that, but just my comment for the rest of the live stream. So yeah, before we get started, I'd like to say hello to everyone who is here. I know it's a smaller list of people today. I always appreciate when people take the time to come and ask questions, because they really want to learn about something, and that's why I'm here. So I don't, yeah, let's get started. Hi, can you get the Hubsan X4 Jet for under $150, and can you do a demonstration how it flies? There are a lot of demonstrations right now coming out from various reviewers. It is to some people's tastes and it is not to some people's tastes. All in all, though, I've heard that from the client base right now that has been releasing some reviews and some testing that overall, they like it a lot more than the Storm, which is to be expected. It's a huge leap. But of course, being that there are many different pilots in the world, it's going to be to some people's tastes and not to some people's tastes. So what I have been given permission from management to do is to mention that in answer to a question that's been asked for the past, I think, 2 rounds of live streams, whether or not the aircraft will be tunable. Yes, it will be tunable. They are working on something right now that will allow you to tune the aircraft. If you find that the stock PID settings are not to your taste, just go ahead and use what we're coming out with to tweak them. So yeah. Alrighty. For under 150 pounds, I'm guessing British sterling. Well, if you buy from our website, if you just buy the aircraft, I think it should be around 150. I think. I'm not sure. I can't do the calculation in my head just because I'm not familiar with it. But honestly, new, I don't think so, especially ready to fly. If you don't have being that it's so new, you would have to buy it ready to fly. So most likely not. It's a very good aircraft for the price. I'm telling you, even at 175 USD, ready to fly. It's honestly, I don't think you're going to find it lower than that on the market new. If you want it for underneath that, you're going to have to wait till it's been out for a while and then buy it used. How will you address the issues with the acro mode on the Hubsan H123D jet? I believe I just answered that question in the form of my comment on the tuning. It's all in the tuning. It really is. For example, something that my technician likes to fly wouldn't necessarily be something that you would like to fly. And in general, for my company, we like to release things that are a little more, that R&D would consider a little more beginner friendly. So that's why there's more guiding on the acro mode, I suppose, for now. But you're going to be able to tune it if you don't like that. Andy, my problem still exists about the FPV signal. The H501S camera only works when my controller is not bound. As soon as I bind them together, I lose picture on the controller. Number 1, email us. Number 2, enter the main menu and see if the FPV comes back. If it does, that's a cross 2.45.8 interference problem. If it does not, we're going to have to do further troubleshooting on that. Email us, service@hubsan.com. This is one of those cases that I mentioned that requires a lot more hands-on stuff. Hey, watching from Ireland. Can the transmitter for the Hubsan H123D jet bind with an H501S? If so, will it display GPS position to fly GPS mode? So, your first clue to that is first to ask, is the 123D a GPS aircraft? Since it is not, the transmitter, again, will not be outfitted for GPS aircraft. Since it's not outfitted for GPS aircraft, it's most likely not going to work with H501S. This doesn't mean that it won't bind, because keep in mind, both aircraft do use a 2.4 protocol. But being that I don't know if the code is compatible across those two aircraft and their sets of transmitters, I don't know for sure whether or not they will bind. Even if they do bind, a transmitter for a non-GPS aircraft cannot be used with a transmitter cannot be used to fly a GPS aircraft in GPS mode. Does the jet controller come with a LiPo battery? I don't think so. I do not think so. Don't take my word on that 100% though, but I really don't think so. My Hubsan H501S shuts down in midair, flying about 5 meters above a power line. I experienced interference and VRS, and it wasn't either one. In level 2 mile/hour wind, will already cover damages. It all depends on why the aircraft shut down. Either only the motor shut down, or the LEDs and the motor shut down, in which that's a complete power outage. If we find that the aircraft possesses a defect that would have caused that, then yes, it would be covered under warranty. But if we find that it does not have a defect related to that case, and we cannot for the life of us force it out of the poor little thing when it arrives over here, no, it won't be covered under warranty. I am having an FPV problem that is an H501A with an H901A. RSSI at 1 meter or less is 72, at 20 to 30 meters is 40, and at 50 meters, found antenna on top of the motor. I don't know what that means, that last part, top of the motor. How is it supposed to be oriented? not quite sure what you're trying to ask there. Are you asking about are you asking about how is the 5.8 antenna in the H501A supposed to be oriented in the pod? Mine is laying flat down on the motors. Is that correct? Maybe causing FPV issues. From what I remember of the 501 series 5.8 antennas, they're usually pointing like this, down towards the rubber feet, like this. If they're like this, you're probably gonna have some issues because it's a directional thing. So we try to make it point down like this so that the signal does that and not that, so that when you turn the aircraft around, you don't experience such a drastic change at 5.8 or in FPV. But this. So if this is the motor right here, threads through like that. Like that. Mine is horizontal on top of the motor. That is so weird. Can you take a picture of that and send it to us? Because that is very strange. Unless you're talking about the Wi-Fi antenna, the metal piece underneath the motor. That's not the 5.8, by the way. Anyway, what is... I'm sorry, we don't speak Turkish and I don't understand Turkish, so... Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be doing this. Nuh-uh. Uh-huh. Okay. Charles, por favor, escribe su pregunta en inglés, por favor. Creo que te entiendo, pero no estoy segura. Any more info on the battery protection circuit? Not yet. Haven't had an answer from them. Okay, Turkey. Hello. Hello from the US to Turkey. Glad to see you're here. Thank you for attending. If you have any questions, please translate the question in English. And if you need to do a translation in Turkish, I will have the moderator write the answer out in English so that you can copy and paste it into Google Translate and translate into Turkish. I know that's not the best solution, but unfortunately we don't speak it or write it, or else we would translate it for you. I just purchased an H501S. It doesn't require compass calibration the first time booting the aircraft. Is that normal? The firmware is not the same as listed on the support site. You must have received one of the latest versions of the H501S. And I found out why, by the way, that the firmware is not released on the site. So in your case, your aircraft is capable of sensing whether or not it needs calibration in a certain area. If it senses that it does, it will request one. If it senses that it doesn't, then it will not. And how it does this is one via firmware and two via different compass. There's slightly different hardware in the newer ones for that firmware to work like that, the auto calibration or the lack of a manual calibration. And I know I will address this. People will be asking, well, if we buy a new compass and then upgrade to that, will my aircraft be able to do that as well? I don't know, because I should say I have a suspicion, yes, you can, but I don't have the exact technical information or the hardware information. I have not been inside an H501A or an H501S optimized to do auto calibration yet. So if you have that question, I would email it to us so that we can ask R&D. As of right now, if you have that aircraft, congratulations. You won't need to do any sort of calibration as long as the aircraft does not ask for one. If you find that it is toilet bowling, go ahead, use the manual's instructions to induce a manual compass calibration and try again. Should resolve itself. Other than that, yes, what you're experiencing is quite normal for your version of firmware. If I'm not mistaken, you must have Rssi 1.1.46 and RX 2.1.50. Am I correct? If so, that's it right there. What is considered to be official firmware released firmware versions? Products are being sold that have firmware versions that are not available publicly. That's a good question. So as long as it comes out on an aircraft that is released officially from our company, technically speaking, it is considered to be official. Even if there are problems on it, it is still an official release if it is released in product form. Otherwise, we're keeping the non-auto calibration version of the firmware on the website for now because honestly, you can use it with the old compass, but it's not ideal. Can you use a smartphone for FPV while using the 901A for flight control as long as you don't bind Wi-Fi? No. What version is this? H501S-S-H. You've got an H501S, a new version H501SS. Hubsan new model. Don't quite understand what you're asking there. What is the highest version of RX firmware that supports no compass recalibration or power up? My H501A was shipped in July. No auto calibration with FC flight control 1.1.46 and RX 1.1.50. Because your aircraft might have come out with an old style compass and not the auto calibration compass, then you probably won't be able to do auto calibration, even with the new firmware. When is Hubsan going to put up portable foldable drones? I can't really answer that question yet. My 502S is still dead since you sent me a new control board. Please email us about that. I'm not sure who you are. I deal with a lot of clients. So even if I helped you out at some point, like it's not, I don't remember who you are. And also be sure to put up screenshots of email evidence of when the flight control was sent to you. Send it to service@hubsan.com. Next question. I just bought an H501A with HT011A transmitter for calibration process. Is the same as the H906A transmitter? If you're talking about the transmitter stick calibration process, then yes, it's the same. Will the H123D jet transmitter bind with the H107D? If so, will it record on the transmitter? I am not sure. I'll be very frank, I am not sure. I do know the protocols are different. So it might, it might not. You have to try it. I have not tried it before. Can you buy the new compass module? Considering how early on in the release it is, sorry to say I don't know about that point. That's up to sales, not up to tech support. I wouldn't... honestly, it's a 50-50 chance. 50-50, I would say. I would email sales@hubsan.com about that. My H501S presently doesn't respond to the transmitter. What do you mean by that? Can you be more detailed? Thanks. No problem. So the person who asks, who says that his or her H501S doesn't respond to his or her transmitter, please be more detailed about what you're talking about because I am not sure exactly how to answer that. Is it normal to have lag on the FPV using the application? Yes, it is, especially if you're in some place with a lot of other Wi-Fi signals. So if you're flying in your average suburban neighborhood, yeah, you're gonna have lag. There's people are using regular Wi-Fi and 5.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, I think it's called. Yeah, you're going to have lag. I put it this way in a former live in a previous live stream. If you're in Los Angeles and you're driving on a freeway in the morning during rush hour traffic, yeah, you're going to get stuck on the road. It's like that. Is there a group on Facebook that you find the most helpful? That's a good question. I find a lot of groups on Facebook helpful. It all depends on which community you jam well with the most. I find myself scoping out just the big three, I like to call them, for the English-speaking ones, which at least for the 501s groups, and then there's the 109s group. So the main three are the Hubsan H502/H501/122D group. I can never remember the exact order of that, the slashes. And then there's also the Hubsan H501s quadcopter group, and then there's also the Hubsan QC and support group. And if you fly 109S, the Hubsan H109S group. There's also a Hubsan X4 owners group. And for anybody who's in Brazil or speaks Portuguese, they usually go to the Hubsan H501S Brazil group. And then there's also a drones Francophone, Franco-France H501S group. There's a lot of them. And all the, and it depends on, there's also, of course, the H501S, 109S, H501A Air Pro Group, Italy, if you speak Italian. So yeah, it's there's a lot of them. They're really good in their own ways. Is adding a GPS module to the only thing required to make an H906A for an H109S work with Circlefly, etc.? Does it require firmware update? Assuming that you're not all the way on version 1.1.2, 1.1.3, then you won't require a firmware upgrade. Do keep in mind the transmitter will need to be on version 1.1.13 or above. I recommend 1.1.16. And with the GPS module, yes, you should be okay. If I want to send my this is a funny question. If I want to send my H501S up a 1,000-foot mountain, can I change the 800-foot altitude limit? Dude, do you know how many people ask that question? My answer to that is there is a way, but it's not supported by us as the manufacturer, and you will avoid the warranty on your aircraft. But there is a way. I just can't give it to you, and I can't approve of it. I speak Italian. I don't. I am sorry. I only speak Spanish. If you want me to translate comments into Spanish, just ask a question. Say, I want you to translate this. Answer in say answer in Spanish, and I will do so. Hi from Chicago, Annie. Hello. Has there been any firmware updates to the HT011A? I have a very, very early version. I'll try to make the group name easier for you. Hubsan H501/H502/H122D beyond. I really don't think I'm going to remember that. I'm sorry. I have too many things running around in my head and too many groups to keep track of. So, but that being said, I will answer your question. Not to my knowledge. I don't think there are upgrades to the HT011A. That being said, if you do have problems with it, do give us an email at service@hubsan.com and we'll help you figure it out. If it is a firmware problem, we can go ahead and communicate with R&D about that. Cheers. Does Hubsan have an official eBay store? Nope. Hello, Philippines. The Mavic Wings propose H501SS. I can't really approve of that. And since I know you're the Turkish speaker, so let me hold on. I cannot really recommend that you use the Mavic propellers because, of course, they're made by DJI and not Hubsan, and I technically can't do that. we have heard from people who modify those that some pilots do like them. Do keep in mind that if you do that and have an accident, we won't cover it under warranty because you were using a non-Hubsan set of propellers. Okay, my upgraded aerial mod is actually worse. That sometimes happens. Yes, Andy, that sometimes happens. If you're fortunate, all you will have to do is switch back to the OEM antennas. If you're unfortunate, when you switch back to the OEM antennas, you might find that your range is permanently disabled, which means that the modified antennas burnt your original stock hardware out. And I'm sorry that happened, but you really got to be careful. I have a tutorial written on that in which I'm like, if you want to do it, you really got to ask someone who knows this stuff. Why is the Wi-Fi password on the H501A not able to be changed? Security issue. I actually do not know. Probably because, yeah, I don't even have a hypothesis on that. I'm not sure. You can email that to us, service@hubsan.com. We can ask R&D. You can even make it as a suggestion to make it changeable, but I'm not sure if they'll actually, want to do that. Do coreless engines wear down? I've been flying my H107C for 2 years. We replaced 3 cells due to shells due to crashes, but still flying well. One engine vibrates a lot after the crash. Yes, they do wear down because as far as I know, all the coreless motors that we use are brushed. And the reason they don't wear out as much on the 107 series is that the 107 series aircraft number 1 is tiny, especially the 107C. They're really light. And also, the battery only provides nominal voltage 3.7 rated voltage to the motors, which gives them a lot less, it's a lot less wear and tear on them. So you got less weight, less heft, less power going to the motors, which is why they last longer on a 107, but don't last as long on a 502. So yes, they do wear down, from at least the ones from us, because they're brushed. By definition, friction, wear and tear. No problem. Is RX 1.1.50 the latest for the H501A? I believe so, yes. The Hubsan H501S has serious toilet bowling problems. How do you fix it? And video always skips. Number 1, please use the toilet bowling tutorial that I have on the Back to Basics series on the main Hubsan Facebook page. Enter the symbol Hubsan001 on the Facebook search engine bar, and then click on the company Facebook page. Go to the pinned post, click See More, go down to the toilet bowling tutorial, which should be fairly near the top. Start there. If a manual calibration does not do the job, please send us an email. What I recommend, take note of this very, 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 very closely. When you write your email, or before you write your email, pair your aircraft and transmitter, calibrate it, then take an external compass, a reliable one, and a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard, something bigger, mark down what north, south, east, and west are. Then take your aircraft, point its head to each direction. For each direction, look at the H telemetry symbol and value. Write those values down and send it over to us. Also send us the full firmware version information for your aircraft. How do you do that? Please read the Back to Basics tutorial on why you want to enter the main menu, how to enter the main menu, and why you would want to do so. The instructions for getting into the firmware version page are in that tutorial. Both tutorials that I mentioned, toilet bowling, main menu, Back to Basics, at Hubsan001 Facebook search bar. Can you say what a good RSSI value should be at 5, 10, 30, 50, and 100 meters? Again, I answered this before, but I guess because you want specific numbers, I'll go ahead and give them to you, as well as a condensed version of what I said before. What you want to take into consideration is, number one, using the RSSI as a guide. If you're talking about FPV going out and you have no FPV or cruddy FPV, then you would want to use the values I'm about to give you as a guide. If you find that your FPV is okay and you find that the numbers don't look right, you don't think they look right in accordance to what I'm saying here, go with what you see on the screen instead of the RSSI values. Play off both of them, both the FPV and the RSSI values. That being said, at 0 meters, you should be experiencing something at around at least 80, maybe lowest 70, maybe. This is with FPV. If you got 70, if you don't got FPV at 0 meters, move away a little bit. If you're at 10 meters, you should still be 70 or above. Same at 30, 70 or above. At 50, you're going to start maybe getting into 70, maybe a little bit below. My newer H501Ss came with the 2.1.50 and the 1.1.46, but I can't find any info on it. Can you give me a specific question about it? Is Hubsan looking for drone testers? You're going to want to email us at service@hubsan.com for that. I don't preside over the testing because I'm in North America, and all testing is monitored from the Chinese office. So email us at service@hubsan.com, and we will go ahead and have you forwarded to the appropriate representative for that question. My drone went out of control and crashed due to having force shut down because it's going to crash into a building. I will respond to that because I don't know the circumstances of your crash. And I don't know if what you are describing would fully fit what we would see from the situation. If when we inspect the aircraft manually, as in we have the aircraft in front of us, we open her up and we look for certain things that would match what you are describing. If we find that defect from a part contributed to that shutdown, then we will consider under warranty. If the aircraft shut down because the motors hit the building and encountered so much resistance that the motherboard failsafe kicked in and not only shut down the motors, but maybe also burnt out a regulator because it didn't come out because the motor shut down and didn't come in time, then no, that would not be covered under warranty. My FPV blinks out at 50 meters. I think antenna being horizontal on top of the engine caused it. Maybe. Perhaps. Also, proper calibration in low frequency areas. That should stop toilet bowl effect. Correct. Does Hubsan test the H501A in Wi-Fi in 2.4/5.8G modes? Well, yeah. There is an exception in which if the client states that the Wi-Fi is okay, but the 2.4 or 5.8 have issues, or vice versa, then we will specifically focus on one mode to save time. No problem. It's a toilet bowl problem because it can't calibrate compass probably, and it's a he, not a she. Okay. I would recommend reading my toilet bowling tutorial on the main Hubsan Facebook page. Can I solder a third-party FPV camera module directly onto the battery's two connectors onto the receiver? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. If you do that, you will be voiding the warranty. And to do that close to the battery and its connectors without a specified solder plate, like an actual solder pad there to hold the module and its solder points, you're really running the risk of ruining the entire board doing that. All right, running on to the last minute of our live stream today. I will answer 1 to 2 last questions. Let me see if there are any that I missed. I always fly my Hubsan H501C, H501S, and H501A. Why am I always losing signal? I am just 80 meters away from a cell tower. Well, first of all, I would try, there are a variety of reasons. I would try, number one, rebinding in a different area without the cell tower. Try in up to 3 or 4 different other areas. If the range is similar, I would say you might have a hardware problem. But given that you're experiencing it on all 3 other models, unless you're using the same transmitter, I'd say a hardware issue is less likely given your situation. Try another area, try rebinding as well. Normal range for all 3 of those aircraft we would consider to be at around 250 to 300 meters if you're flying at around 60 meters high up. Mahalo. Alrighty. If that is all for today, I will end the live stream here. As always, glad to see all of you on. We started off with like 4 people, and now there are 33. Thanks for coming as always. If you're watching this and not live, if you're watching this after the fact, do not worry. We still have 3 more time slots before we take a break from live stream session. And if you cannot make any of them, don't worry about that either. We'll be coming out with a poll just in case live streams are preferred or wanted again in the future. So yeah, I believe the next live stream is this Thursday. Yes, Thursday. Today's Tuesday. So it's this Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Yes, or 5 p.m. UTC. So yeah. Until then, guys, see ya. Have a fun day in between. Go fly your aircraft. No problem to everyone. See ya.